to everyone out there in this wonderful world. Today, I'm very excited to bring you our first interview. And this interview is with my good friend Axel Orozco from Mexico. And Axel's a doctor that is deep in the medicine world. And he had the opportunity to live for 1 year with an indigenous tribe in Mexico. And that experience has helped inform his whole life. And he really speaks to this world where science and traditional knowledge can really come together in a way that helps us live a whole life, a life that has science in it, but also has room for the intelligence of plants, the intelligence of medicines, natural medicines. We talk about his year of living with the indigenous community for 1 year, and also a recent experience that he had with peyote and the Huichol, basically a Huichol ceremony, which I thought was amazing because I've never personally been in one, and I can't wait to join him in one. So sit back, relax, and enjoy this amazing interview with Dr. Axel Orozco as we explore Mexico's traditional healers and the Huichol and peyote traditions in Jalisco. Hello, hello. Hey, brother, how are you?
Nice, really nice here in Mexico City. And you?
I'm great. I'm here in Ojai, California. It's been a while since we've seen each other, but I think about you all the time, and I'm really excited to have you on the podcast today. And I know a little bit of your story, but I'm really looking forward to diving deep into your experience. As you know, um, I've been working with the indigenous tribes in Brazil, and you're one of the few people that I know that actually got to live for a full year in an indigenous community. So I want to talk about that, and or maybe it wasn't a full year, however long it was a while. And also your recent work with medicine. So this podcast where, it's called Cura Medicina, and for me, cura medicina means being healed by all the different modalities: medicine, music, art, however it shows up in your life. So, yeah, just tell us a little bit about yourself, introduce yourself, and then we'll dig into your year with the indigenous tribe.
Nice, yeah, of course, bro. Something everyone should know about me is like I'm a medical doctor specializing in eye health. I mean, an ophthalmologist, and in the ophthalmologist community, I have like also developed like research and academic activities, and I got specialized in retina and vitreous surgery and medicine, and I advanced my studies in terms of super specialization in IRDs, that stands for inherited retinal diseases, and electrophysiology studies of the vision. So I have all this professional background as a medical doctor, and that's something that helps me to get through the traditional medicines in terms of a balanced view in between, or like technical and scientific knowledge through the traditional medicines, saying the allopathy, or like the medical and the current medicine paradigm. But I have been in touch with the traditional medicines personally, so I think this dual point of view of the healing process of the mind and the body gives me some special cosmovision of the healing process that we all have access through our own minds. Uh, if I have to talk about myself, I will say I have been walking through both paths since a couple of years, and let's say about 20 to 25 years. So yeah, I would like to be seen as not only as an ophthalmologist and neither just as a person who has also walked the traditional medicine, but like a like a friend of all of our listeners, and same as you, we are friends. I'm open to all sources of people that are interesting in the understanding the mind and healing through the mind and personal process. And a soul personal path requires guide and teachers. We can find in traditional medicine these kind of paths and lessons and teachers, because the plants and some traditional medicines can open as many can like live and save through different point of view, but they they open your own wisdom that is inside of you. And more than that, they can even activate some biological processes in terms of tissues, cells, and even genetics. So um, we will be chatting about this evening.
Hmm. Great. I love that. And just so everyone out there knows, Axel and I, we've known each other. Wow, I think it's 23, 24 years now. It's been a while. And so I first met Axel in Mexico before he became a doctor, actually. And he just returned from a year living with an indigenous tribe in Mexico in the mountains. And I want to hear a little bit about, like, how did that all happen? I think from my memory is it's a special program in Mexico where you can either choose a year of service or you can go straight into college. I mean, you tell me, but I don't remember exactly, you know, how you ended up taking this year to to live outside of the home, away from a family, away from friends, away from society, right? And so tell us a little bit about how you even got there.
Yeah, that was like for all of us like early jump is really awesome, because sometimes you go through paths that you never imagine, and it's a special lifetime, because sometimes in this specific age you are more open to your instinct more than other things, and some of us really heard this instinct. After I finished high school, I was like with this project going to London to have like a sabbatic year. And for saying sabbatic year, we call it like a party year. And it was really common back in my days to go to London to just, partying up all the time. But I, for some reason, got involved with some friends back in the day that were like really into indigenous communities of Mexico. So I did travel for a week to Chihuahua. That's the Chihuahua is a northern state in the desert, but it has like mountains, like the Sierra Madre Occidental. And there is this special community that is called Raramuris, worldwide known as Tarahumaras. These guys are really in a very vast area and very isolate area. So I went to do some social service. And once I was there, I felt a call. It was a really solo experience, because in this social service, it was through Catholic community service. And there was this activity where you are supposed to get communion with Jesus, and very religious. But I never see like paradise in any religion, so I really did the exercise, and I got myself into the woods and then into a mountain, and I was there alone by myself, and I felt a really really strong call from the place, and this call becomes a whole year of my life, and that's how I get there for a whole year.
Wow, amazing. So you have this call, you answer the call. Instead of going to London, you go live in an indigenous community.
Nobody really back in the day understand this 100 degree change in my decision because from going to London to a indigenous community, and nobody understand it in those times, but everyone who really loved me support me through this idea.
That's beautiful. And what was it like when you got there? Give us a view of what daily life was like, and you know, give us some idea of what their traditions are, and what their values are as a community. And I'm also interested, how connected are they to the outside community? To people that are living in the cities. Are they coming and going? And yeah, just kind of broad strokes view about what it was like.
Yeah, first of all, it was still by a Catholic community service, so we are based like in a place where we have like the nursery and like a traditional school of Spanish for the indigenous people, and we have like these places where the kids can stay for the whole week, so they nurse and um, attend school with us, and that was like the main. So it was how it was, but I was specifically in health and in like community service. So I walked through the communities all over, and we begin to do like a map and a demographic data on them, and we were like doing these projects that was like the end of this whole service. But as you say, once I was there, I was really one of the few that realized that this kind of help, it won't make a difference in in them and their conditions. So once I realized that I cannot change the world and I cannot change them through specific activities that we as Occidental cultures consider the standard of living, and that they were isolated for centuries because they didn't want that. That is mainly the Latin American history of indigenous people. They were pushed through the mountains because in the core of their culture they didn't want to be conquered like culturally. So that's why all of the indigenous people are in isolated areas as mountain or deep in the jungle in the south. So once I realized that they didn't want this kind of help, that's when the real contact with people began. And once I get in this, I would say it was all about companion. So that they have like this concept of just being together, sharing time and space is enough for being, and you don't need to a relation of education or a relation of construction, because human contact, it is just being together in one specific time and space, and they honor that because there are cultures that they are contemplating and they are really inside nature. So, wow, that was something at my 18 years difficult to understand because I was taught by Occidental culture and by my life just to be in a construction mindset where everything is achieving and everything is goals. So in that early age, to understand that life is also contemplation, it was shocking for me. And in everyday life, apart from the activities of the service community, it was really getting into the traditions because something that someone is isolated from society most of the day takes part of just getting woods for the fire and getting water from the rivers and working with earth in terms of harvesting, and just the isolated rural life is really tough, man. You have lived that. Many of the listeners know that, and that's how dedicate their everyday lives. But in this everyday life, they are really immersed in nature because they have really low access to technologies. So it's we can like make a judgment on them, saying that they are like outsiders from the world, you know. But it's people that they are deciding to be like in the natural and very original living style of humanity that it's been ruling for millennia, and they have kept the human and spiritual part of the living existence through their way of life. So that was about it. And finally, just for people to get like an idea of how it is, at least in many of the Mexico regions of indigenous people, both north and both south, is that there are communities that they are really close to Mexican and like modern little towns. We call it pueblitos. So these people that is very close geographically, they have like a very mixed culture. But once you go inside the Sierra, in the mountains, deep in the mountains, they are really non-touched by our culture, and that is like where everything is happening in terms of the spiritual and traditional conservation of their culture.
And what were their spiritual practices like? Did they have ritual, for example, honoring the nature spirits or, corn harvesting spirits, or what was that relationship like? And were there specific times when they had ceremonies, honoring whatever? I mean, I don't know. You tell me.
Yes, that's one of the amazing things. Like people, their spiritualities in their everyday lives. You know, they're stare at the paisajes from the Sierra, and they are just like contemplating, and they are just like connected into the woods, the mountains, the wind. Their spirituality is not like something they do apart from their life, as we usually tend to do in our modern lives with all the meditation and mindfulness, that we make a space in our everyday noisy life because they have really they are deep into the silence of nature. So their everyday life has this spirituality. Of course, they have rituals and shamanic guidance from, they call it in the Raramuri Tarahumara's culture, it's the Owiruame. That's mean the shaman of the tribe. More south in the Viradica culture, that is the Huicholes, that it's like cousins from the Tarahumars. They call it Maracame, and these guys, it's really really strong their history because they have like a one-to-one tradition when the Owiruame shaman of the Sierra, it's very young. He has like a series of dreams, and the spirits sometimes in the Mary Virgin, because they have some Catholic symbols because of the historic process of inculturization of the Catholic Spanish uh, print of in these cultures, but sometimes directly from spirits, and they dream that they have this call to be a shaman and a wiruame, and then the wiruame that is like a really respected and figure of the tribe also dreams who's the next in charge. So they dream a part of this process, and they come together and they disappear for a couple of years into the Sierra. And what's happening in that period or of training or like communication in between these two figures of the community, it's very unclear, and I think nobody knows at 100% because it's very own of them. So, but after a couple of the years, they return, and the new Wiruame, the new shaman, stays in the tribe, and the old one usually gets like off, it is say like they go into the Sierra and disappear. And exactly what happened to these guys also, it is very unclear from our point of view. But what is most interesting, Derek, is that this can happen like with very miles and kilometers apart, very far distance. For example, an Owiruame shaman from the North Sierra can go to the south to meet another Owiruame. And we are talking like more than 300 miles sometimes. They are really, really big distance. And so that's what's happened. And of course, the Owiruame and shamans in their journeys, they use peyote as a sacred medicine, and they use it like for like decades of usage. And these guys are really, really advanced in the use of medicine, and that was amazing to live with them. I mean, it was, as I say, like at the tip of the iceberg that I was like share and has the opportunity, but it was like a real life changing experience for me.
Great. So we're getting to the good stuff. So they use peyote, and do they use any other medicines like tobacco or mushrooms? I know they don't use ayahuasca, but just wondering if there were any other plants that they brought in as part of their cosmology in the ritual.
In the spiritual rituals, it's just peyote. They have like as many or almost every indigenous people in America, a lot of knowledge on the natural plants of their habitat, and they use it like for regular healing processes as diarrhea, as flu, you know. But these kind of plants also, they have this that it's called the curandero, and curandero there can be many, and they know the plants, they know how to do and prepare it for specific diseases, more physical diseases. But the sacred plants, just like the shaman, know how they use it, and of course they share it with the community. And that's where they do the ceremonies, and each ceremony has a purpose. So the Owiruame shaman, it leads the ceremony but share the medicine with all the interested people. For example, if a family has a problem, they can do a ceremony for healing, or like going through these specific situations. I can tell you a specific story that I presence, that it was like this ceremony was called by a family that their corn was dying, and these people really rely on corn fire harvest to live in the Sierra. So they were really worried because it has like a not like a physical plague, but it was drying, and they called the man to do the ceremony, and the end of the ceremony was healing the earth because the earth was hurt. And when I heard that back in the day, I couldn't understand because it lacks, in that time, I lack a lot of knowledge on how we are connected to nature, to the earth. But it was, and I was shocked. And I think for many people in our culture, if someone says that it will hurt the earth, it doesn't make a lot of sense, or they want to use chemicals or some like modern techniques. But it was the end of the ceremony, and it was really interesting to see.
Did they ever do ceremony for the whole village or for the whole community? Or was it very specific, like you just mentioned, this family has an issue, or, you know, maybe a rites of passage, or, that sort of thing? And when going in Brazil, doing medicine down there, one of the beautiful things is that the whole community comes into the ceremony. You get like 60 people. Of course, the little kids don't drink, but teenagers and up to grandmothers and grandfathers, everyone's drinking, and it's a way for the village to come together. So I'm wondering if there's a situation like that that happens.
No, that's I think one of the main difference with the South cultures, especially as you say, South America. They gather and they have like these big ceremonies, but it was like was a ceremony, but for many people was like a party, and they drink alcohol, like corn fermented beverage called tejuino, and the many people of I mean, the majority of the community just drink alcohol, and the ceremony was like taking place like in a specific place around the party. And let's say it was like, yeah, maybe between 5 to 15 people that get into the ceremony, and the rest just go into the alcohol party. They can do some peyote, but just like very little. So it's that actually they do, but they don't get like in medicine. So it was kind of mixed, and they were listen to this. It was like 3 to 5 days party, so they were like drinking for a whole week. I have never know people that can drink that much. I mean, it was as corn is also food because it was like a tole. So they eat and drink at the same time, and they were like up to sometimes a whole week. And during this time, the ceremony was held like in a specific and sacred place. So that was the dynamic, at least in this north part of the country.
Yeah, interesting. So they're participating, but they're not in the ceremony, but they're kind of in the energy of, you know, the ceremony in a way, in their own way with alcohol, which is just crazy when I think about it, because I feel like all of America's in a ceremony of alcohol most of the time. One thing I was thinking about as you were speaking, because I know you so well, and I've seen you grow into the person you are in many ways, which is beautiful because I knew you way back then and I know you now and you're a good friend. How do you reconcile this scientific brain with the part of you that is being exposed to, you know, this other world of spirit and healing the land, knowing that the land is sick? You're like, yeah, how do you do that in your brain? Because I know your brain and it's very scientific. So yeah, I'm interested in that.
Yeah, that's a really, really good question. And I think there is no specific answer. I think nowadays it's more and more naturally for all of us to see that there are like different aspects or different points of view of the same coin, you know? We always have this really knowledge, but it was like very, very apart from our Occidental cultures. And as both paths have grown, we have learned that there is like physically and scientifically biology basis for all this kind of reality that I think is very advanced nowadays. And through even clinical trials, we have learned that it is possible to heal through mental processes and the plants. It's these specific components that goes into the brain, and they have a specific receptors that call in terms of modern point of view phylogenetics. That means that two species from different kingdoms are connected through the tree of life. So molecules in plants and nature has a specific place in our brains. So that's the only thing that uh, imply is that we are really connected to the plants and the earth through these molecules. And at the very end, if you go furthermore into the creation of our own planet, it all comes from the sun and the energy of the sun that make possible all the molecules to and all the energy to to shape into matter. Both Raramuris, Tarahumaras in the north west of the country, and Virradicas also in the mid in the midwest of the country and the central desert of San Luis Potosí and Zacatecas and Jalisco. They believe that the sun is our main god, the father, because all comes from light, and you don't need to see and to go further because you have everything inside of you. The energy of the sun is inside of you. The light around you is it's not only around, it's in you. So it is all connected in this vision of the phenomena of energy, matter, mind, and we are just like beginning to describe with scientific and biological knowledge this reality that is been known for humans since millennia because sacred plants, it is now recognized, and you should know, of course, this, that it is now recognized that mushrooms are like considered to be one of the evolutive game changers of humans because of the mind revolution that have been made since very ancient times.
Yes. Praise the mushrooms for sure. So grateful to them. So let's talk a little bit about your last ceremony, which I'm a little jealous about. I wish I could have been there with you. I want to be there at some point. And yeah, just walk us through. It's a Huichol ceremony. And so, what is it like? How do you start? What does the shaman sing? Does he play instrument? Like, yeah, just walk us through kind of the setting, if you will. And then afterwards we can talk about your experience, but I want to know like the setup, the traditional setup. Because I saw you sent me a picture of the
Yes,
you sent me a picture of the altar. The altar was absolutely beautiful. So yeah, just let me know.
yes. This last ceremony, it was like you with a Mexican guy that has been with the Viradicas Huicholes for more than 10 years. He's been actually, I will present this guy to you because before Peyote, he was into ayahuasca for maybe even, I think it was also kind of 10 years. And after he was very advanced in ayahuasca, he visited the Viradicas in the Sierra of Jalisco in North State, and he get hooked with the traditions. So this guy now he has, as you and many of the listeners, a really nice and long-standing experience with this specific power plant, Yori, and he was in this specific ceremony. Guide came from the Sierra with Chola, and this Maracame leads the ceremony. So we all are gathered like around the fire for which all is the Peyote ceremony should be around the fire because as we were talking, fire is called abuelito. So grandpa fire is like taking care of humanity since its beginnings. And abuelito fuego, it's called Abuelito Fuego, the Grandpa Fire, it's really connected to the sun, that it's like a central god in the Viradica culture, and they are the same. But Abuelito has decided to stay in the earth to illuminate and warm the Huichol through their path. So we are all around this big firewood and the the Wigwam, not himself personally, but two masters that are like helping the ceremony. They take care of the fire all night, and we all have at first, before taking the medicine, we all have to do some personal meditation with the fire, and you need to think about everything that it's hurting, both mentally, emotionally, or physically, and then you should throw everything to the fire and ask the abuelito fuego to burn all that and to purify yourself and to heal yourself because you don't need that in life, and that's one of the things that medicine tell us all the time that we don't need to suffer. So this is this is one way of in the ritual to do this specific. They ask you, of course, to have like a previous work. That means meditation or reflection, what you want to do during the ceremony, as many of the modern ceremony. So at first you throw all, and then you give also a gift to the fire, and you should give some tobacco or some like as essences like copal or something you brought to the ceremony. I brought this time palo de rosa, and actually it was really great because the maracame didn't know, haven't never smelled palo de rosa, and I talk about, and we have really nice conversation because they use traditional copal as is very, very purifying. And then we begin the presenting ourselves to everyone because once you go into a ceremony, you are a family that will take this both and you will be in the night. So also if there's people that isn't really advanced in the medicine work, they give some more practical specifics on instructions. So if they feel bad or something, uh, some of the people that guide can relieve them with some kind words, with some refreshing water or lemon. One of the difference with ayahuasca and some other ceremonies is with peyote you can have a little food during the ceremony like citrix or water. So yeah, it doesn't makes you feel bad like in the stomach. So that's important. And they begin and open the ceremony with chants and the family of Fer that it is the Mexican that helps the widow, the Maracame master. He and his family are playing drums and guitars and traditional chants that it's called peyoteros in Mexico. That peyoteros chants is like basic guitar and bass with a specific and very, very, very positive vibes. That the ceremony was like all about like praying, then having some music, and then some space of silence. And the maracame he only do with with very basic sonaja. How would you call it, amigo?
Yeah, I can't remember right now. I think I know what you're talking about, though.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, like la sonaja. I think that
I
everyone
guess.
like understand it.
Right?
Yeah, that's it. And they have traditional tsunami, and they do like praying in Viradica when the Maracames goes praying. It was like this tone in between uh, telling a story and chanting. It's a chant. It's really, really, really deep. His voice, his read. Even you don't understand the words because they are chanting in the Radica language. When he was praying and chanting, the mental states you can get is really profound because it's like the sound of his voice takes over and it goes really, really deep into the space and time connection of you with the space and time. So that was about it like all night and you eat some and then you drink all night until you are like good, and as many people ask me and ask as you say in your book and in your podcast, sometimes people just want to know how much get of the medicine, and the answer is always inside of you, and you are the one to decide. And then at some point in my personal experience, that I know I'm getting ahead of the question, but that was about like the ceremony. And finally, like in the morning after 8 to 12 hours, because it's a long-standing ceremony, uh, you do a ritual where you go again with the fire to thank the purification, and then the Oguruame shaman and makes you some personalized praying with some of their power materials and and he purifies you, and then you take a bath of clean water just to clean all the of this that you and you do it beneath the fire. So you wash yourself, and all the water goes into the in the fire, in the central fire. So that's the end of the ritual. So because sometimes you can attract some spirits in these ceremonies, because when a group of people go into a ceremony, energy portals can be open, and some spirits will just like go and see what's happening. And they say you from the beginning that if you see some spirits, sometimes as shades, sometimes as animals, or sometimes as noises in the nature or something, you shouldn't be afraid, because Owiruame, the Maracame, sorry, for the Huichol Maracame, and the people who's helping him, they are protecting the space, so you cannot be touched. And at some point you can see those spirits because there are portals. Usually their ceremonies are in the desert, of course, and they say in the desert you can see a lot of spirits there.
Beautiful. I love it. Being around a fire the whole time and just one night. Do you do one night or 2 nights? Does it depend or
No, it is one night, because this is like like ceremony with um, for like specific objectives and healing.
yeah.
If you want to go through the whole experience, and this is an invitation to you and maybe some of your mates that are like really interested, we should go to the desert, and that's like maybe a whole week, because you walk from a sacred place to another, and it's like in between 3 and 5 days. And these days you can be having some peyote like in low doses, just like for be connected with the desert and the spirits. And in these specific desert ceremonies, at the end you get into another sacred place, and that's where you got the final and big ceremony, and that's where you can really connect after doing this whole days walking through the desert.
We gotta do it. We gotta do it. Is that your daughter?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, beautiful.
yeah. It's Leah here.
Yeah, beautiful.
Nice.
Yeah, that's I love the idea of being out, by a fire. Um, there are a few ayahuasqueros that do around a fire, but not many. Most of them do it in, especially here, they do it inside in a circle. So I would love that. So yeah, let's talk a little bit about your personal experience. What was it like to be on the peyote, and what are the feelings you had? What are the insights that you got?
Okay. Whew. Uh, First, I have to tell you that for me, since I knew the ceremonies direct in the Sierra, as we talk back like 20 more than 20 years ago, uh, for me, all power plant and all traditional medicine is a like a two ways and two direction uh, connection and counter. You know, you as human, are you thinking about this because you heard of this from someone, you read it from somewhere? So in some point, you get the idea to do a specific ceremony with a specific medicine. But in the other side of the connection is the plant, and the plant, it's also communicating with you, even same as you are thinking about doing it. The plan is just aligning things for you to get there, you know. And once you get in the ceremony and get rid of all your mental blockage or emotional blockage, and you get in contact with the plan, you understand that it was a two-direction path, and the encounter is a celebration of life. How plant energy It's celebrating life with human energy, and that's beautiful. But for this specific ceremony, I think it was the plant that called me, and I have, I think, a lot of noise in my life in terms of work, occupancy, and I didn't heard the call. But it was my cousin that told me 1 week, 2 weeks prior that we will do this. And my first thinking was I didn't did like a diet and meditation. I meant like very saturated, so I don't think it's the. But I tend to have like a healthy life, so in terms of physical preparation, it is not much problem, and I don't use any other drugs or stimulants. So I say okay, and I went, and it was like I realized during the ceremony that I was like a really not hearing the call because I was really having a lot of things in my mind. So I didn't have like a many objectives to work. So it was just in this time more than having questions to the plan. I was just expecting to hear what the plan has to say to me. And I was for the few first hours just enjoying myself with the music and all the experience. And then I realized I needed some space, and I go like far from the fire and into the trees, and it was like this really nice space with trees and birds, and they have like pavo reales, and then I see like a very big alpha Turk. I think it's the pavo real, and it was just standing in the highest tree of the place, and it was like fused with the moon. But what I experienced was like an ape, and then was shaped to a cat, and finally it got shaped as a coyote, and he was my guided spirit that lead me through these woods. Yeah, I mean, I was close I wasn't like kilometers away. It was just outside the fire. And when I was in the dark and the firewoods was really far away from me, I get to see this like rampa spirits, and they were dancing around me, and one of them was the hikuri, the peyote spirit that we call it also abuelo hikuri, abuelo peyote, and he take my hand, and I was really feeling all this love from the plant and the energy of the earth and the nature and birds and everything really connected into the present. And he told me, "How are you, my kid?" And I was like, I'm doing really well. Thank you." And he told me, I can feel you are like taking everything very seriously. And I just want you to know that life is about enjoyment and joy, and you must enjoy everything you do. And it's okay to laugh and to have fun. You don't have to be so serious. It's your life, and go and do whatever you make you happy. And I approve that, and I encourage you to do that. And it was really, it's like when your father or grandfather told you like a really nice advice with love and with a lot of respect from your adult self. But it was a really like a lighting lesson that I remember to that I need to enjoy as kid and the life. And it was like I said, like, "Oh, you're right. I'm really a really fun guy. So you can be whatever you want to be in life, and you can do whatever you want and be very successful and as an adult and professional in what you do. But inside of you, you don't need to be serious about things, and so it was really. And then he goes, and he returned to the fire, and I began to enjoy the experience as kid literally, and I have a lot of fun.
That's beautiful. That's a such a powerful lesson, right? Just Be joyful, find enjoyment, don't be so serious. I love that. It's uh it's good medicine for
Yeah, it was,
all of us to remember.
yeah. And then I was like, I seek for him because it was like this question that it's been rounding my mind, and this in this point I will share something personal with you and all our listeners. And it was, as everyone's, at some point in our relationship, I was having a couple of months ago some problems in my personal relationship with my girl, and uh, I wanted to ask the abuelo Hikuri some advice on this specific. Then he he didn't say anything. He just hugged me and he say, "My child, I know you have been suffering lately," and he just embraced me, and I felt like really cozy and love. And he just say like, "It is part of it. It is part of life. You don't." But that's didn't the Hikuri didn't tell me. That was my inner wisdom, because once you are advancing plants, you can recognize your own internal voice of wisdom, and you can distinguish the plant voice. So it wasn't him. He was just hugging me. And as I was telling myself with this inner and old and wisdom voice, that it is part of it. Suffer and pain, emotional pain, it's part of living. I mean, if you lose something, or if you are having problems with someone you love, it hurts, and it's okay. It's normal. It's part of it. It's part of life. It's part of being living and growing and being related to others. So it is natural. And he say, if you want to cry, cry. And I was like, no, I don't feel like crying. I already cried, and I'm not living the past, because things now are better. So I just wanted to ask. And then I begin to feel really, really sleepy and heavy. And he told me, my child, if you want to sleep, go and sleep. We will be enjoying same as awake, both sleeping and awaking. You can enjoy life. And but as I'm very energetic, I say, no, no, I don't want to sleep. I just want to keep going. And he said, yeah, it's okay also. So drink some water and refresh yourself and keep going. But after that, Derek, in the morning, when we share our experiences, all of us, some guy that was in the ceremony, I didn't know this guy here. It was just in the ceremony, a really, really nice guy. He told something because you shared your experiences. And what he told, that heard from the Hikuri Abuelito, it was that all life was about her. The heart, it's everything. And I remember one thing I learned from you recently, and in words, but many, many years ago with energy, that it is all about love. Connection is. So this guy said like with words, and it say everything is the heart and the feelings. So after that, I understand that in my relationship, I have been having troubles because I'm very rational, and I want everything to rationalize. And relationships, it's about love, and I need to listen the feelings of my girl and express myself with feelings and love rather than with ideas and rationality. And I learned that from the guy who attend the ceremony. So one of the amazing things of doing power and medicine plants in group and in ceremonies is that you don't learn individually. You learn as a group of people that um, coincide in this specific ceremony. So yeah, it was beautiful because that was a lesson from the Hikuri, but through some of my fellows in the ceremony.
Beautiful. I mean, you can't get better than that. It's all about the heart and enjoy yourself, right? And, all of the feelings in between, the pain, the difficulties, I think being mindful of that our heart, is such a tender thing, and in order for it to know joy, it also has to know pain. And yeah, dude, that's such a beautiful ceremony, bro. So I'm so happy for you. I'm so
Yeah,
happy for you because yeah,
nice.
yeah, so happy. Well, this has been great. Is there anything else you want to say before we knock off? Or I'm so honored that you came on and did this podcast, and we got to talk about beautiful medicines. And hopefully, one day, no, not hopefully, one day I will be joining you. So get ready for that. Um,
Yes. So we are like this this specific rite of the it's called the desert walk. They walk very long distances in the desert. Uh, they do like it's a group of maracames, and each maracame goes with a group of people, usually from Huichol people, but they also invite people from all over. And every 3 years they do, because it's a big walk and a big ceremony. So every year it's been doing this, but different groups of the because Huichol people is very extended. It's one of the biggest indigenous community in Mexico. And this specific Maracame, we after the ceremony we talk of ourselves a lot because we both recognize ourselves as healers. You know, me as a medical doctor, and actually I will attend some of the people from his community with the eye medicine, of course, and so we recognize ourselves, and so he invited me to the desert ceremony, and he's doing it on the 27th, and it's in like March.
of
So
next year,
we should 27 because he just did it
2027,
last year,
2025, 2027.
2027.
Done. I'm there.
Yeah,
I'm there.
yeah. We will. I will. For me, it's a fact. So yeah,
For me, it's a
and
fact.
yeah, Derek, amigo. I just want to say something to all the people that listen, and this is maybe my medical doctor part.
Yes,
But you should also, once if you haven't never done power and traditional medicines, you should do a whole process, as Derek say in his book, and that includes that if you have some medical condition, specifically some psychiatric or family history of psychiatric illness, you should be very careful with this and some other conditions. So you can like always count on people that are advanced in this so they can like give you advice, and it's really just like a general precaution for all of us that
absolutely.
we should take on count. Other than that, I just encourage you, if you have felt some plant and power medicine call, not to be afraid, and go direct into it.
Yeah. I loved what you said about the plant is also calling you, and it's so true. So true. It's yeah, that was a beautiful part of what you said. In ayahuasca we always talk about the plant, being called by the plant, but we never think about that it's actually the plant that's calling. We more of think of it as an alignment. So yeah, thank you, brother. Thank you so much.
Derek,
Yeah,
my friend, thank you for this
thank
interview.
you,
I
bro.
really enjoy it, and
You too.
we will see. Let me look.
This
Look who's here.
Oh yes, there's your beautiful daughter. Hola, ¿cómo está?
Derek
¿Cómo está? Estoy
from United
aquí,
States.
el gringuito.
Say hola.
Is that for me? Thank
Hola,
you.
gringuita.
Oh,
Yeah. Okay,
all
so,
right,
amigo.
brother. Welcome back, and thank you so much for listening to that amazing episode. Please leave us a review if you enjoy this podcast. Hit that subscribe button. And if you have any questions or would love to reach out, check us out on Cura Medicina. That's the website or the Instagram handles, and we would love to connect with you. Have a great week. We'll be back next week with a new episode. We look forward to connecting with you.